Okay, Cara, so we're going to have a look at your stroke now from above and below the water from a range of different angles. I mentioned that I'm going to give you a bit of a training program to take away with you today. So on your little disc, which I'm just loading up here, there's going to be two video files. One is the raw video file that we're just downloading from the computer right now, and the other is going to be a recording of the analysis that we're doing right now. So everything that you see on the screen, including our voice over top, has been recorded for us here. So this is going to just be popped onto the little disc here for you as well. And just double check that there. It's all good. Minor blip, there we go. Pull that out. Okay. All right. Now, in terms of a training plan, when you go down to the pool, is there anything specific that you tend to work on for improving your swimming?
I've been working on my stroke. I've got some anti-paddles there.
Oh, have you? Okay. Yeah, with a little round. Yeah, okay. How do you find those?
Yeah, they're pretty good. I don't like to swim too long with them. So
Sure.
I don't have a training plan, so I just working out my own drills. So I just tend to do 200 metres with the anti-paddles and the pool buoy.
Yeah, sure.
And then I ditch the anti-paddles, do another 300 with the pool buoy.
Yes.
And then I just do some free.
Okay.
After that, for about half a kilometre or a kilometre, just working on the stroke.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
I tended to bring my right arm in underneath my body.
You can feel yourself doing that?
I was.
Yeah.
I've been working on that, and I'd be interested to see how bad that still is.
Sure. Okay. All right. Yeah. In terms of how well you pace yourself out, how would you say? Do you feel like you've got one consistent pace that you just hold, or do you feel like you set off quicker and slow down, or you set off slow and speed up?
No, I do tend to be quite consistent.
Okay.
I was a bit faster in the pool this morning, not used to the pool. I nearly drowned at the other end.
All right.
Slipped on the wall.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah.
So I took in some water. But I've got my Garmin, which is recording me, so I can see that I'm quite consistent.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, have you had a look on the Garmin at how many strokes you're doing, like stroke rate and stroke length and that sort of stuff? And do you know what numbers, or are you just normally looking at the times and the distance?
I brought it with me if you want to have a look.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
But generally, I haven't really taken much notice of the strokes.
Okay, all right, yeah.
And I found that when the one time that I did count them for the 50 metres, it seemed a lot different to what it was showing me.
On there, yeah, okay. Now the thing with the Garmin, we don't need to have a look at it, so I'll talk you through that. But the Garmin only measures obviously the left hand going through. So if you weren't on the left hand, it'll count in your left hand. So sometimes if you're in there counting it yourself, you'll count 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you get out, the Garmin will obviously sort of be reading half of that, basically, yeah. Now, this is where things like stroke count and stroke rate, which is how many strokes you're taking per minute, can be quite confusing, at least when you're using something like that and thinking, how does it all match up? Where does it, and more importantly, what does it all mean? Now, when I give you a training program, based on what we see on the computer screen with your video footage in a moment, I'm going to be very able to accurately guide you in terms of what you need to be doing, what drills you need to be doing, and give you some training sessions to actually print out and take home to work on. Now, we'll come back to this in a moment, but this is essentially the interface that you'll be working with. There are over 400 training sessions buried in here. My job is obviously to show you which ones you need to work on. Now, just before we get started, before I show you your stroke, I'm going to show you two swimmers here, side by side. And I just want you to simply comment on what you think they look like. Now, both of these two swimmers are Olympic gold medalists. In fact, they're both double Olympic gold medalists. But one is a triathlete and one is a pool swimmer.
Okay.
Now, let's watch the pool swimmer first. Her name is Rebecca Adlington from the UK. Oops. Double Olympic gold medalist and former world record holder in the 800 freestyle. I want you to look at her stroke and I want you to just tell me what you think of her stroke. Can be anything that comes to mind when you see her swimming. So let's just watch again in here. Here we go.
Straight away, her hands are pointed down.
Hands are pointed down, yeah.
It's very smooth.
Very smooth, yeah. We actually call that type of swimming the smooth, for that very reason, basically, yeah. Anything else you notice?
Very consistent.
Very consistent, yeah. Almost looks a little bit like robotic, doesn't she?
She glides in the water.
Glides in the water.
Not really seeing much kick.
Not much kick.
No.
Do you think you kick harder or less than that? Or?
I haven't really concentrated on kicking at all.
No. Okay.
I've done no kick board drills or anything. I didn't see any point in buying any more equipment
until you've done something like this. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. What about her breathing? What do you think her breathing looks like?
Yeah, she's breathing out the whole time her face is under the water.
Do you feel like you do that yourself?
I'm concentrating on that.
Concentrate on that, yeah. Okay.
Although I found that I haven't really needed to concentrate too hard. I seemed to already be doing that.
Seems to be doing it. Okay, cool. Alrighty. Now, let's just pause here for a moment then and watch also a British athlete, double Olympic gold medalist in triathlon, Alistair Brownlee. Now, the video footage that I've got of him is actually from a race. So we'll just watch him here. Now, this is the start of the men's race at the Blenheim Palace Triathlon, just before the London Olympics when he won his first gold medal.
So this is where he's going to pull out in front.
This is where he's going to pull out in front, exactly right. So this is him on the front. What does he look like in comparison to Rebecca?
Well, his stroke rate seems to be a lot faster.
His stroke rate is a lot faster, yeah.
Yeah.
In the video clip here, Rebecca Adlington's stroke rate is 68 strokes per minute.
Right.
On the right-hand side, Alistair Brownlee's stroke rate is into the low 90s.
Okay,
so it is much faster, yeah. Okay, we'll just watch it again here. What did you notice about his arms over the top of the water?
They seem to be out wider from his body.
Out wider from his body? In fact, if you look at position number 2, that's Olympic silver and bronze medalist. It's his brother, Jonathan Brownlee. Look at how straight their arms are.
Yeah.
Now, just go back to Rebecca from the top.
Yeah.
And notice how the elbows are actually quite high. So coaches often talk about this idea of getting the elbow high. But the reason I wanted to start off with this video clip is firstly to ask you which one you think you most closely resemble. Is it more Rebecca Adlington here, or is it more the Brownlee brothers here on the right?
More Rebecca.
More Rebecca, okay, interesting. Now that's the wrong answer.
Okay.
But it's also the right thing to be doing for your environment in which you're swimming in. So Rebecca is only a pool swimmer. I say only a pool swimmer, she's a very good pool swimmer, but she only swims in perfectly flat, calm conditions.
Okay.
The Brownlee brothers swim in conditions which can be rough, choppy, they can be swimming around hundreds of other swimmers, etc. And that slightly straighter, higher arm recovery over the top of the water, they don't look as nice as Rebecca, okay, but it can be very, very useful in rough, choppy conditions or when you're wearing a wetsuit. So the guy in third place here, look, see him with a very straight arm recovery.
Yeah.
If I let you have a look at him slightly more close up, here's a guy called Harry Wiltshire. Now, he is the very first swimmer I ever started coaching millions and millions of years ago. I was a talent ID officer for British Triathlon back over in the UK. And somebody told me, you've got to go and check out this 15-year-old swimmer. He's fantastic. He could be really good with triathlon. You know, so all keyed up. I was only about 19 or 20 at that point myself, and went to see him. And as you're going to see in a second, his stroke looks very unorthodox compared to hers.
Okay.
Just recently at the Hawaii Ironman, this guy set the fastest time on the course. He was the fastest overall swimmer at the World Triathlon Championships at the Ironman distance.
And you got him started.
I got him started.
Yeah.
Now, that's me boasting a little bit there.
Good on you.
But
Why
watch this though, and this is the key point, is that his stroke looks very different to Rebecca's.
Wow, he's throwing his arms around.
Throwing his arms around, almost like the arms are windmilling over the surface of the water.
Yeah.
Now I mentioned we called Rebecca the smooth, but we actually call Harry a swinger because of the way the hand swings over the top of the water.
Yeah.
He looks very unorthodox, but in the right conditions, that has proven to be very, very effective indeed. Now, not only that, is that the longer, smoother stroke tends to suit swimmers with a stronger leg kick and who are taller of stature with the broader shoulders, longer arm reach, big hands, etc.
Oh, not me then.
Exactly, exactly. Now, not me either. I've done a lot of swimming, a lot of triathlon, etc., but I'm not the tallest guy by any stretch of the imagination. My stroke style is more like this than it is like that. But the key thing is, in years gone by, everybody would have been taught to swim like this, irrespective of height or build or what conditions they're swimming in. In fact, so easily influenced as I was back when I was 19 or 20 years of age, that I tried to change him to look more like that, and it actually slowed him down.
Wow.
Okay, so that's basically my lead into showing you with your stroke now. Your stroke over the top of the water looks more like Harry's or Alistair Brownlee's than it does look like Rebecca Adlington's, but that can actually be a good thing. So let's just watch it here. Now, the other difference between a swinger and a smooth is how much quicker the stroke rate is. So you can see how your arm sort of swings up and over.
Yeah.
So we'd be classifying the stroke here over the top of the water certainly as more swinger-like than smooth. Notice it's much higher with the left arm than it is with the right. Why do you think that is? Do you have a favourite side to breathe to?
No.
No, you feel
I started on the left, and then I pushed into bilateral
breathing.
Yeah.
So it could well be symptomatic of the fact that you started off breathing into your left, and when you have one side which is your dominant side to breathe to, typically people will rotate better to that side than they do to the non-dominant side.
Okay.
So that probably explains why the left arm comes up and over more than the right one. When you watch back on this video review, you'll also see that Harry Wiltshire and Alistair Brownlee and Jonathan Brownlee both do the same thing. They both rotate more and have the left arm coming up and over more because that's the side that they're predominantly breathing to. You noticed that already, yeah. So if we look at a couple of other little things, let's have a little look. I asked you about the pacing first off, and you said, I feel like I'm quite consistent. Now, one of the slightly artificial scenarios here is that you're in a situation where you've got not just me looking over your shoulder, but all the other coaches when you're swimming as well. So chances are, when you set off here, you might set off a little bit sort of tense, a little bit anxious, and set off a little bit quicker than you would do normally. I'm going to show you how much quicker you set off here, and we're also going to look at the stroke rate that you're swimming with as well. So you set off on the wall here on 2 seconds. I happen to know that your average swimming speed here is 2 minutes and 4 seconds per 100 meters, so 2:04. So in theory, we should be doing each length in 1 minute and 1 second. So by the time you get to the end of the pool, that should read 103. Should be reading 103. Let's see what time it actually reads. So on this first lap, we actually get through there, look, and we're turning at 53 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, so that first lap has taken you 51 seconds, but the average is 61 seconds. So that first lap is significantly quicker than the other laps. Now, what you tend to find, especially on a watch, is you get almost like a smoothing factor, in that you might sort of almost ignore or miss the first 50-meter split, and after that point, then everything becomes consistent.
That's what's happening with me.
That's what's happening,
definitely.
yeah. The problem is, though, that first 50 meters can send your heart rate and breathing rate absolutely through the roof. The way our physiology and our way our system works is that your breathing rate, when you set off there, you're setting off from rest. So your heart rate was low, your breathing rate was low. There might have been a bit of tension, a bit of anxiety, but on the most part, you rested. You set off, and it takes a good 1.5 to 2 minutes for your heart rate and breathing rate to catch up with the effort you're putting in.
Right.
But by that point, it's too late to actually rectify it if you've set off a bit too quick. So a lot of people set off too quick. I'm one of the worst people for that in the world, and over the years, I've had to really sort of tame and hold myself back. So one of the ways we're going to monitor this today is what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at your stroke rate. So this is how many strokes you've taken per minute, not how many strokes you're taking per length.
Yep.
Ultimately, those two things determine how fast you actually swim.
Yep.
So it's a little bit like when you're riding your bike. You know, you might be riding a bike with somebody next to you. You won't necessarily be in the same gear, and nor will you be riding with the same cadence. So typically a big, strong guy with big quads sort of thing might be pushing really big gear, and you might be riding at the same pace as him, but in a smaller gear, turning your legs over a little bit quicker. So what we need to know is some metrics here. We need to know how quickly the arms are turning over here. Okay, that's 82 strokes per minute. Now, generally 87. Generally speaking, swingers tend to sit on the higher end of the stroke rate spectrum. Let's watch by the time we get onto the last lap. Now, you can visually see there that it's slowed down a little bit. Not a huge amount. It's down to about 75 strokes per minute. But the data and 75 again. So we've got a range there from around about 82, 85 down to about 75 strokes per minute. Now, the danger of the stroke rate being too quick is that we actually miss the first part of the catch and we don't actually hold onto the water well enough. Harry, who I showed you, the first guy that I started working with, he was earmarked to be the third triathlete to go to the London Olympic Games to help the Brownlee brothers try to win this elusive gold medal that Britain's never won before. Now, they did go on to win that gold medal, but Harry wasn't the third selected athlete. Just before the event, he came to me and asked me to do a little bit of fine-tuning, and he was saying that the same thing was he just feels like he's over-revving a little bit, and that's definitely what you're doing here, is you're just over-revving a smidge. Now, let me show you where it should be for your given swim speed. So if we bring up this little chart here, now even though this is a lot of numbers and stuff, it's actually quite simple, because later on I'm going to be able to give you a little tempo trainer which beeps out the right rhythm for your speed to just prevent you sort of from over-revving the arms a little bit. Now, on that first lap, you're actually swimming at 142 per 100 meters.
Yeah,
So a bit fast, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we extend a vertical line from there straight up, where we should be swimming is somewhere between around about 54 strokes per minute and up to around about the high 60s. 80 plus, we're into this red zone here. The average swimming speed, though, is more like just over 2 minutes and about 75 strokes per minute. And again, it just lands you in this red zone here. So essentially, swimmers in this red zone have a stroke which is slightly too short and a tempo which is too high. So we're just sort of rushing through it a little bit. Some of that could be caused by, that sort of thinking, okay, these guys are watching me and da-da-da-da. But if that was the case, if that would have dropped off significantly more than that over the course of 200, because you wouldn't have been able to sustain it.
Yeah.
So my reading of this is that you naturally are inclined to sit with a slightly higher rate. And, if we were swimming more like 120 or 110 per 100 meters,
that's a dream.
that rate, and that rate would be then okay, because you can see it sort of extends up here.
Yeah,
that white zone is what we're after there.
Okay.
So let's look at how we can tune this up then, what we can do to try and make it a little bit more efficient. Now, if we watch it from the top again, we know that the arms swing over the top of the water. But what we don't know yet is how well aligned they go into the water. So let me just change the angle up here for you. Okay, so from this bird's eye view looking down, we can see that the hand sweeps in and cuts around. Just got a little bit of a water droplet there. But it sweeps in and around across in front of their head there. Now, most swingers tend to do this. I tend to do this in my own stroke. It's also one of the reasons why my left shoulder of all of them is the one that tends to feel a bit of soreness or etc. So it's important that we get that hand going straight forwards as opposed to across. When it does swing slightly across in front of the head, the legs will end up scissor kicking apart a little bit and creating a little bit of drag. Now the right one actually comes in much straighter, but it's still having to have a great big swing around to try to correct for what the left one has done there. Now if we take it underneath the water and look a little bit more closely in here, in this position, what we're going to see is how effectively you're holding onto the water and propelling yourself forwards. Now, the magic angle at the elbow when you're pulling through, Cara, should be somewhere between 100 and 120 degrees.
Okay.
Perfect, as we see here. But there is a little bit of a difference here between how Rebecca and Harry tend to pull through. What I want you to notice here is how many bubbles are coming off the hand.
Yeah.
The arm itself and the forearm is totally shrouded in that big plume of bubbles. Whereas if the tempo was a little bit more tamed and we're not rushing straight into the catch, we'd get a little bit more hold of the water and that would help to actually get rid of some of those bubbles. So this is what Rebecca looks like from that same angle looking straight towards the camera. Now if you just play this in slow motion, you'll see that her arms aren't completely bubble free.
Yeah, pretty good though.
But they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, as a double Olympic gold medalist, it's going to have to be pretty good, and there's certainly the ability to set a world record. But that there means that because she hasn't got that big plume of bubbles coming off the hand, it means that she's actually gripping and holding the water that much better. So one of the things that we need to do is try to get rid of those bubbles and work out where they're coming from in the first place. So to do that, we just need to zoom out here a little bit and look at you now from the side. Here we go. So when the hand comes in, you can see how it actually slaps into the water there. The elbow striking the water before the hand.
Yep.
So you can almost imagine this air pocket that's being created under here, that's the bubbles that you're actually dragging down into the water. Compare that with how Rebecca enters in. Now, the Brownlee brothers also have like a straight arm coming over, but by the time the hand enters into the water, they actually have the fingertips piercing in first, so it still creates a nice clean hand entry. So if you watch Rebecca here, look, you can see straight away, just coming in there like so. So the air pocket that she creates is under here, but because that hand is piercing in nice and cleanly, it's not slapping and grabbing the big plume of bubbles there as that hand goes in. So this is quite easy to rectify once we know it's a bit of an issue. Now you mentioned that you've been using the what they call the anti-paddles. Do you want to just grab them from your bag? Good. Now, I haven't seen those for a long time, actually. Where did you manage to get them from?
Online.
Did you? Yeah, right. Wow.
I've got some of those.
Yeah, I've got some, but you don't see them around that much. Yeah,
I don't bother worrying about the water because they're not waterproof. They're not watertight.
Oh, they're not? Okay.
No.
Oh, so you've still been getting water. Yeah, it's
not.
supposed to be, but they're not.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough, yeah. Now, the idea of the anti-paddle is to remove any sensation of catch from the hand at all. It's a little bit like swimming. We had this conversation yesterday about fists. It's a little bit like swimming with your fists closed. It's trying to encourage you to actually bend the elbow and press the water back. Now, the thing is, you do get the bend at the elbow quite nicely, but what we haven't got is that purchase on the water right at the start. So the paddles that we're going to use a little bit later on today are these two pairs here. I don't know if you've seen these before or seen anything like that before, but they help with a couple of things. The middle finger goes through the strap, and there's a keel on the bottom. We saw from the surface shot looking straight down how your left hand tended to cross over in front of the head. If your hand crosses over with these paddles, they're designed to fall off your hand. What they're also designed to do is to almost give you that sensation of spear. They look like a spear, designed to actually get you to spear into the water that much more smoothly.
Yep.
So even on the left side, look, so the left one looks like it's about to come in correctly, and then what we're seeing here is that hand actually reaching around across in front of the head. So these paddles are going to be awesome because I'm going to be able to talk to you and give you feedback on your stroke. But you're going to get even better feedback from these because your kinesthetic feedback is going to be that, okay, well, it's actually, I can feel if I'm doing it right, equally I can feel if I'm doing it wrong. Now, the other paddle that we're going to use later on today as well is this one here. And again, there's no straps for this one, just a place for your thumb. Unless your hand goes into the water fingertips first and then you commence the catch by pressing the water back, this paddle's going to fall off your hand. Because of the larger surface area as well, you're actually going to feel this one very clearly slapping down onto the water if it's going in, as we see here.
Yep.
Okay. So even swingers, elite swingers, when they enter into the water, they still get their hand coming in correctly, even though over the top of the water, the first part of the stroke is more of an upward swing. Now, we've developed a drill to help with that, because this is the sort of thing that we see all the time. There's a drill which we call the broken arrow, which we'll do today, which will help you get the nice combination of maintaining what you're doing well over the top with still piercing into the water correctly. So this drill here allows you to kick on the side. We raise the arm up, so not really changing too much about how you're recovering over the top, but then from here we bend the elbow or we break the arrow to use its name, and then we focus on spearing that hand more cleanly into the water. Doing it cleanly like that will take away all the bubbles, allow you to then set up that better catch and pull through to generate that forward propulsion there. Okay, all right. Now, just before we move on, one thing just to point out here. Now, I appreciate there's a lot to take on board. You might already be thinking, oh my God, how am I going to remember all this? When we get into the water, we're just going to work on one thing at a time and work our way through step by step as we go along. And when I show you the training program that I'm going to give you as well, that is literally just going to be a step-by-step process as we go through there. So just looking at this here, if we ask the question why you might be inclined to slap that hand down, if we look at the head position, we're lifting the head, it's very, very high, exactly right. Now again, this is a very, very common thing to see. If we compare you here to not an Olympic gold medalist, but certainly a very, very good swimmer, a guy called Jono van Hazel from here in Perth. Jono went to the Athens Olympics in 2004, and if we watch him when he takes a breath in, let's just watch very closely here, you'll see that he keeps his head much, much lower in the water. Now, a lot of people are almost nervous to do this initially because you think, well, how am I going to get any air in? It looks like he's almost breathing underneath the water. But what we don't see quite so clearly, yeah, he's got gills, yeah, exactly right. What we don't see quite so clearly is the bow wave that forms around his head. So by keeping his left ear towards the left shoulder, it creates this sort of barrier, which creates a bit of a bow wave around the head. And just behind that bow wave, it forms a little trough that he ends up breathing into. The problem with lifting your head high is that the bow wave never forms, so therefore the trough never forms, which means you need to almost climb out of the water even higher. So some of these exercises that we're going to do, even before we get onto the broken arrow today, I'm going to simply show you how to kick on your side and keep that head a little bit lower. By doing that, it's going to help to improve your profile through the water and mean that we don't need to then use that hand to sort of climb out of the water there. So it's going to be a bit of a process that we need to go through step by step. Now, luckily enough, we've actually created this system, this training program. So as we work on your stroke today, I'm going to take you to a point where you feel comfortable and familiar with the drills and know why you're doing those drills and feel better with the stroke. But today is only part of the equation. Sure. Your job going forwards is to, over the next couple of weeks and months, is to start to implement some of these ideas. So if we come into here and have a little look at this, when you first come in, there won't be none of this information will be populated because you'll be using it for the first time. You can access this on your iPhone, your desktop computer, your iPad, wherever you've got access to the internet, and it will just formulate to the screen size that you're looking at. The first thing we need to select is your swim type. Okay, now I've mentioned two of those swim types, the smooth and the swinger. My feeling is that you're very much more of a swinger than the smooth.
Yep.
You'll be pleased to know that the majority of the world's best open water swimmers and triathletes are more swinger-like than they are smooth. In fact, sometimes when they jump into the pool, you might see some of the best swingers in the world, and you look at them and go, oh, it looks a bit ugly. If Alistair Brownlee was right here now and jumped into the water, he would look nowhere near as nice as... We've got Mike just sat behind us over here. Mike's a pure smooth, and we're going to use you later on today with these kids, and we're going to get you into the water, and they're all going to visualise your stroke later on today. He looks beautiful in the water. Alistair Brownlee would jump in next to him, look very, very much sort of ragged, etc., but it can work very, very well. Now, the other swim types, just to briefly mention these, we have an Arnie or an Arnett. Now, these swimmers are normally very, very new to swimming, and they'll tend to do what you saw at the end there, where you're lifting your head quite high out of the water, and it will cause the legs to sink quite low. Your body position with the training that you've been doing, though, and you've been smoothing things out, you might have started off a little bit like that, but my belief is that you've actually progressed to being more swinger-like. So we're going to select that profile. We're going to select that's me, let's go. And then here, this will change now to the swinger profile, and there'll be a female version up at the top there. Where it says fix my stroke, there's then a series of tasks and videos that you just need to read your way through, and 4 training sessions. Session 1 here, look, is supporting the swinger, session A. You can literally print this off, take it down to the pool deck, and then just work your way through in a nice structured manner. Yep. If you forget how to do any of the drills that we're about to do in the water, or that the program asks you to do, simply click show videos, press play, and then from about 4 or 5 different angles you'll see the stroke, and you'll hear my voice over the top. You'll get sick of my voice, trust me. You'll hear my voice over the top just commentating on the drills and how to actually do them. Now, that's 4 training sessions that you can do to correct your stroke, but I mentioned there's over 400 in the program. So improving your swimming is not just about getting your technique right, it's about making sure you're doing the right type of fitness training and then adapting your stroke properly to the open water. My belief is that your stroke is already quite well suited to open water swimming with that higher arm recovery, but I'd encourage you, not now, but I'd encourage you as you go forwards to have a little look in the training section and see some of the tips and advice that you can do to try and get things like the pacing better and how you actually maybe control that over time. Some of it can be done with the beeper, set to a slightly slower tempo and just get you smoothing out the stroke. And some of it can be sort of give you target paces, if you like, per 100 metres, just try to get you centred with that. But I'll leave you to have a little bit of a look through that. Okay, so that's what it all looks like. Does it look like you feel it feels? No. Where are your biggest surprises about that?
I'm surprised that my head is so far out of the water.
Yep.
And I am also surprised that I'm sucking the water as much as I am.
Yes, yeah.
Not really surprised to see that my feet are doing their own thing. So
yes,
I
yeah.
Concentrated on those at all.
Sure. The leg kick, even somebody like Ian Thorpe would have a leg kick which only generates about 11 or 12% of his entire propulsion. With the legs here, there's definitely scope for improvement. With the leg kick. Just go back underneath the water. See, we're actually bending a little bit from the knees, etc. You've got very close to the making of a 2-beat leg kick, so it's not a massively powerful leg kick, but for triathlon it doesn't need to be. But I can certainly show you how to actually just keep the legs a little bit straight and smoothen that out a little bit. A massive focus on the leg kick is not required at this stage. Yep. A lot of what we'll find with the front end of the stroke will actually help to correct the back end. So rather than thinking, oh my god, I've got 20 things to work on here, let's go through this process and see what helps to correct what within the stroke there. Okay. Now, much better that you sat here with a few things that you weren't aware of than sat here thinking, oh, my stroke already feels good, but I still want to be faster. Sometimes I do get people coming down and they're actually, I'll say to them, actually look really nice. In fact, Orietta, who was down here beforehand, which looked really smooth in the warm-up. And if you think about it, there's less scope then for further development and improvement. There, we've got a lot of scope for well, and I mean that in the best possible way. We've got lots of scope for tuning up these little things. And the best thing about that is on that first 50, you're swimming at just over 140 per 100 metres, which is fast swimming. Yeah. We had 4 lanes of swimming this morning, and our second group, these are the target times that they had to hold. You'd be somewhere between lane 2 and lane 3, assuming that pace was sustainable for that first 50 metres. So you've definitely got really good potential there. Yeah. We just need to make it sustainable and making sure we're not over-revving and just getting into things a little bit too quickly. So I'm thinking we can do some good work with this. Okay. Now let's just stop this recording then.